It's about a boy graduating into manhood.
I was a huge fan of the first film, and a massive fan of Denis, and he's just a genius. So it's been just the time of my life getting to come here, and everybody's welcomed me with open arms, and I'm so excited about it.
It's about a boy graduating into manhood. It's about a human being becoming fully themselves. And that it's not a lonely, it can be a lonely process, but you're not alone, because it takes a village. Do you know what I mean? And you don't realize that until you've arrived. So yeah, all these characters, I think more than any other story I've ever been involved with, all these characters are essential to his coming to terms with himself.
What's happening in our culture, and I mean, the book was written many years ago, so you kind of, you look at it and it feels so modern in the way of dealing with the corruption and the lies in the world, and people greedy for power, and just all the parallels that we have today. But I didn't see that when I was 15, and then I reread the book and then saw all these things I didn't see the first time.
You know, it's the same book, and that's what people get confused by. So this is another book. No, that was, and I think it's the smartest thing that Denis did was say, let's break this up, you know, and not overwhelm people with too much information. And it allows for quiet, and it allows for, I don't know, for lack of a better word, spiritual kind of growth that he's going through, that Paul's going through. But at this point, you don't know. You don't know what's happened. You don't know who's still alive. You don't know who died in the first one, whether it's me, whether it's everybody. So you get these people, you know, recoalescing and having these incredible emotional reactions to each other. And then ultimately, I think the first half was more of an introductory story, whereas I think this is about somebody truly growing into maturity. And you watch Paul struggle through all this stuff, and you have to go through all this kind of pain in order to self-reflection and all that to get there. But when he finally gets there, it's a special moment.
Dune Part 2 begins sort of where the first one leaves off. Paul's life has been shattered. His family and so many people that he loved has been killed, and he's been now on this journey to, one, avenge his father, and to unite with Johnny and the Fremen to reclaim their land. And so that's the journey forward in Dune 2.
He's very rare, man. He's a very rare individual. You know, I have a crazy amount of respect for him. And I love him as a human being, you know. And his, you know, watch him direct, you know, and you have your technical expertise or your skills and all that, and then you have an ability to see a story all the way through, and then you have another ability, which usually you don't find all of them in the same director, of being able to demand more of your actors in a way that truly works for your film, as opposed to throwing ego at somebody because you're the director and you want to have an impact. There's something that he is going for that we all trust, that ultimately, even though I may argue with him sometimes, that ultimately is going to make a better film.
And he's really an exceptional person. He is a true genius. I mean, when you watch him at work, it's really, I feel like I'm on set with Kubrick or something. I just feel so incredibly in awe of him every day. And he makes it look easy. He's just so sweet at the same time. It's such a nice thing to get to be around. And then the other thing that I didn't realize is how funny he was. He's really got such a sense of humor.
I love her. I just think she was one of the best things in the first film. She blew me away when I saw the film. She was a standout for me. I thought what she did was extremely powerful, very open, very human, very believable. Yeah, so working with her is a pleasure. you know, because you get to see, it's not very often you're with people. We were talking about it earlier with different actors. You know, the coming to terms with myself at 45 was realizing that I was a film geek and that it was okay to be a nerd. Do you know what I mean? And I do. I love cinema, and I love film, and I love storytelling, and I love, you know, anything that revolves around the human condition and what challenges that and all that kind of stuff. And that's what I see in her. You know, she's one of those actresses that she can tap into the idiosyncrasies that most of us can't really see, and then she exploits it through her acting. And she's a special actress, man.
Timothy's a fantastic actor and a really generous guy, and we've had a blast together so far. And it can be tough, you know, when you're doing physical fight scenes, and because you have to have a rapport with the other person, and it's like you're dancing together. So he's been a great dancing partner this time.
She's one of the coolest people I've ever met. You know, I've seen a couple of her films. You know, which I always like seeing. She's fun. She has a lot of energy. She's like got a lot of adolescent energy, and it's great. And then you see these movies where she can tap into emotion at will, and it's very, very powerful, psychically powerful, emotionally powerful. I have a lot of respect for that woman.
Denis had an image of Fade physically that he described to me. We had more conversations about it, figuring out why does Fade act the way he does. What was his relationship like with his mother and his brother and his uncle, and who did he look up to when he was growing up? And so that led into finding Fade's voice, and which was, you know, sort of came out of this idea of being with the Baron from a very young age, and seeing that this is the man who has power. This ends up being in this brutal world where you're leading with fear rather than love. You look up to, and who do you emulate? And that's where that came from.
It's a transport. You know, it's what we all want to feel. It's that magic that happens that can't happen anywhere else. You end up pausing, and then you have to go get the other hand of potato chips. You know what I mean? Whereas in the movie, like, yeah, I guess it can sort of happen, but those moments in a movie that you don't, time becomes elusive, and it's suddenly over, and you don't want it to be over because you want to stay with that experience that you've had. That's a special thing that can only happen in a movie theater.
There's a couple things I hope people take away from the film. One is on an internal level, that feeling that you get when you see heroes fighting for what is right, and having to make difficult decisions and do what's best. But then on another level, it's getting to be in a movie theater and witness a spectacle like that. That I know how much films have meant to me, and it's so I'm excited for audiences to get to sit down and witness what the entire crew's put together, because they've all worked so hard, and it's really just cinematically amazing.
Prepared for what is to come. 别忘了订阅我们的频道，打开小铃铛就不会错过任何精彩内容，随时上架。我们下回再见。